High up in the Himalayas is a place they call the land of the Thunder Dragon. The tiny mountain kingdom of Bhutan, the last Shangri-La, one of the more pristine places on the planet.
In a world of despots and dictators, it sounds like the stuff of fairy tales. A remote, almost mythical land where a king gives up absolute power to bring democracy to his people and his government remains free of the taint of corruption. This is the remote Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. In recent years, this once secluded civilization has opened itself up to the outside world, to tourists, technology and television. The Bhutanese are determined to hasten slowly to maintain their unique Buddhist culture in the face of 21st century rapid globalization.
The national stadium in the capital, Thimphu. It might be Saturday, but school children sporting national dress are being put through their paces. It's a full-dress rehearsal for a parade to mark the birthday of Bhutan's revered and much-loved Dragon King, Jigme Singye Wangchuk.
He is our everything. He is our father. He is our, so to say, everything. And for the youngsters think that king is everything for them.
The king constantly travels throughout Bhutan, meeting and mixing with his people. Rarely are his visits accompanied by public fanfare. Back in 1999, an obvious exception. Thousands of the king's loyal subjects turned out to celebrate his silver jubilee, 25 years on the throne. While the king embraces technology and the modern media for his people, he personally evades cameras and microphones. Royal interviews are rare. We couldn't persuade him to break with tradition.
Television, the internet, darile kotsuk nani degi, shungda miselu, pen bombera, tosubigi rewayu, te ngayana misamisem gai, te taringinale, tendegi, tashtele.
Bhutan's capital, Thimphu, a city of close to 50,000 people, keeping pace with their king's grand vision for the country.
This was a row of single-storied, beautifully designed Bhutanese traditional house.
Here, Sewong Dengdup is highly regarded as an author, broadcaster, poet and patriot. In keeping with his fellow Bhutanese, he believes his king has made this country what it is today.
The fact that we are a nation of less than 1 million people, we survived so many superpowers, we are sandwiched by 2 billion peoples, literally. And yet today we are an independent kingdom with a very strong policy that preserves our environment, that we still have our culture alive. I mean, we have one person to thank.
The Dragon King came to the throne as a teenager 30 years ago. Up until he succeeded his father, Bhutan was largely isolated from the rest of the world. Now the king has 4 royal wives, all sisters. He's the father of 10 children and the quirky concept of gross national happiness.
His Majesty stated that gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. I consider it to be a philosophy more than an economic mantra or a development mantra, but a more philosophy. I mean, it's sort of, I think, stipulates the vision where happiness is the end goal and everybody is working towards it.
Most Bhutanese find everyday happiness in the ancient tradition of their national sport. Or what some might call their national obsession.
It's not only an obsession, it becomes a dangerous obsession, you know. I mean, people fight. I mean, it becomes a serious affair. I mean, it is total entertainment, because it is not only shooting the arrows and hitting the target. It has humor, it has satire, it has sarcasm.
Such hijinks keep the crowd on the range enthralled for hours at a time. The nation's most famous archery aficionado, the king, isn't here, but Prime Minister Yeshi Zimba occupies pride of place in the VIP stand. Bhutan's archery contests, like Test cricket, can go on for days at a time, and this one did. Patience is merely one of many virtues that underpins this nation's steady-as-she-goes modernisation.
It's a development philosophy which places people at the centre of development, a very holistic approach where we look at not just the material needs but also the spiritual needs of people. And I think we're quite well on our way to achieving this.
Today, a celebration to greet the arrival of a new Thunder Dragon, a gleaming Airbus to boost the tourism trade. It's a milestone for a nation that's renounced isolation and begun reaching out to the world beyond these mountains. And it wouldn't be Bhutan without a touch of age-old Buddhist pomp and ceremony. Back in the 60s, you needed a royal invitation to visit. These days, a passport and plane ticket will do. Tourism is already Bhutan's second biggest earner. Its unique culture and traditions attracting the well-heeled outsider. It's not for backpackers. The government charges in excess of $250 a day. In keeping with tradition, the inaugural flight arrived on a day and at a time chosen after consultation with an astrologer.
Well, it's part of our Buddhist culture as well as our social requirements that anything we do, we choose a good day, and especially for such an important step in aviation.
The wilderness is Bhutan's major asset. The biggest money spinner, hydroelectricity. Almost half the country's revenue comes from the sale of what they call white gold to India. Rich in biodiversity, 70% of Bhutan is covered in forest. It's one of the few places in the world that can actually boast an increase in forest cover.